The room fell silent, not because the show had ended, but because something extraordinary had just been said. Gucci's creative director, Sabato De Sarno, paused for a moment, almost as if searching for the right words, before finally saying what no one in the fashion world expected to hear. Jin is not just a muse. He's a phenomenon, a man who redefines what beauty means to us. Why would one of the most respected figures in global fashion use such absolute language? What makes BTS's Jin so singular that Gucci, a house known for its precision and restraint, praises him without end? And more curiously, how did one man's quiet presence alter the emotional fabric of an entire brand? This wasn't part of a campaign or scripted publicity stunt. It happened quietly, almost accidentally, after Milan Fashion Week, when Jin's understated appearance in Gucci's fall/winter presentation sent ripples far beyond the runway. There were no fireworks, no exaggerated gestures, only a stillness that refused to be ignored. De Sarno, standing backstage, reportedly told his team, "That's not fashion, that's truth." His admiration for Jin didn't fade after the show, it intensified. Weeks later, Gucci's internal creative reports began using an unusual phrase, the Jin principle. What exactly is it? To understand why Gucci can't stop praising Jin, one must first confront what he represents in a world addicted to spectacle. Fashion has long celebrated excess. The louder, the better. But Jin, with his quiet magnetism and effortless dignity, represents the opposite. He embodies what De Sarno describes as the new gravity. Every time Jin walks into a space, it doesn't explode with energy, it recalibrates. The room becomes still, as if his calm forces everything else into alignment. Jin doesn't perform fashion, De Sarno explained. He becomes it. At Milan Fashion Week, his outfit, simple, perfectly tailored, and emotionally restrained, caused a phenomenon that no celebrity gimmick could replicate. A soft beige trench over a monochrome turtleneck, slim trousers, and his familiar, unhurried poise. It was silence made visible. The crowd didn't gasp, they inhaled. Cameras clicked not to capture chaos, but to document control. For a brand like Gucci, which thrives on duality, heritage versus innovation, noise versus nuance, Jin was the missing symmetry. De Sarno described him as the intersection of discipline and soul. That comment, later leaked to the fashion press, became the anchor of a new philosophy now driving Gucci's vision: quiet luxury. While many ambassadors wear a brand, Jin interprets it. He doesn't amplify Gucci, he distills it. His connection with the label is not about aesthetics, it's about resonance. And that resonance, De Sarno insists, is what makes Jin irreplaceable. Jin is the rare kind of presence you can't design, he said during a private interview. He makes fashion human again. Those words reveal why Gucci's admiration borders on reverence. For decades, the brand has collaborated with countless stars, but none have transformed its emotional core quite like Jin. His existence challenges what luxury even means. Can a man so reserved, so softly spoken, embody the spirit of a house built on theatricality? De Sarno's answer is yes, and not only that, he insists Jin has become the reason Gucci's future feels real. Fashion insiders have begun calling Jin the architect of silence. He doesn't command attention, he alters its direction. There's something magnetic about the absence of noise, De Sarno once told a reporter. When Jin stands there, you don't see him trying. You see yourself reflecting. That reflection, intimate, emotional, almost unsettling, is precisely why Gucci's praise feels endless. Jin's power isn't external, it's atmospheric. He creates beauty not by showing, but by being .1 senior stylist at Gucci described watching Jin in fittings as a study in grace. He moves slowly, barely speaking, yet every fabric drape seems to respond to him. When he looks at a mirror, she said, he doesn't admire himself. He listens to what the clothes are saying. De Sarno echoed that thought, adding, Jin communicates with fashion in silence. That's his genius. He feels the design before anyone else does. It's no surprise, then, that Gucci's creative teams have begun referencing Jin as a living blueprint, a muse whose influence extends beyond campaigns into the design process itself. Mood boards are said to feature his portraits, not for promotion, but for calibration. The team asks, would Jin wear this? Would he understand it? Because if he wouldn't, it doesn't pass. De Sarno reportedly told his staff, if it doesn't speak to Jin, it doesn't speak to anyone. Why does Gucci hold him in such esteem? Because Jin represents something fashion has forgotten: emotion without exaggeration. His elegance is instinctive, not manufactured. His style is not the echo of trend, but the expression of temperament. He's not merely wearing Gucci, he's giving it back its humanity. And that is why Sabato De Sarno's admiration feels endless. But there's a deeper layer to it, one De Sarno rarely admits publicly. According to sources close to the brand, the designer sees in Jin what he calls emotional geometry. Every look, posture, or expression carries perfect proportion, not just in shape, but in feeling. He has an internal rhythm that no stylist can choreograph, De Sarno said. It's harmony, and harmony cannot be taught. This concept has already begun to shift Gucci's creative DNA. The brand's upcoming lines feature more subtle fabrics, organic color transitions, and a newfound focus on form over logo. Jin reminded us that beauty doesn't need to shout, said De Sarno. It just needs to exist. That sentiment, simple, almost philosophical, has become Gucci's quiet manifesto. In a world that screams for validation, Jin stands as proof that calmness itself is power. Fashion critics around the globe are noticing the transformation. Some say Gucci's obsession with Jin is strategic, others believe it's spiritual. The truth likely lies somewhere between, because to understand Jin is to understand balance. His presence merges opposites, east and west, restraint and emotion, reality and art. He is proof that minimalism can feel maximal when done with sincerity. So what makes Jin so special to Gucci? It's not just his visuals or his fame, it's his authenticity. In a luxury market driven by noise, Jin is the rare silence that demands attention. His collaboration with Gucci isn't a marketing partnership, it's a philosophical alliance. Together, they're building something new, an era of emotional fashion, where identity isn't declared but discovered. A.S. De Sarno said in a now viral statement, Jin doesn't represent Gucci. He refines it. The remark was more than a compliment, it was an acknowledgement of evolution. The more Gucci praises Jin, the clearer it becomes that their fascination is not temporary. This isn't another celebrity endorsement. This is a cultural moment. And yet, even as the world dissects his influence, Jin himself remains silent. He never boasts, never explains. That silence, paradoxically, amplifies everything around him. He's the calm after the storm, De Sarno once whispered during an interview, almost reverently. And maybe that's what we've all been waiting for. The endless praise, the emotional language, the reverent tone, it all leads to one undeniable conclusion. Jin is not being admired for wearing Gucci. He's being celebrated for transforming it. Through him, the brand has rediscovered its pulse. Through him, fashion has found its breath again. And in that breath lies the truth De Sarno keeps returning to, the reason Gucci can't stop praising him. Because in Jin, they see the rarest kind of luxury, a man who needs no embellishment to be extraordinary.